So today's lecture will quickly have a recap of what had we discussed in the last class. So we had started with module 2, highway geometric design. So in highway geometric design, we have seen what actually the design, what are the different design parameters, then what are the factors affecting pavement design, and in the several highway geometric design criteria, we have first discussed the pavement surface characteristics. So in that, we have seen the influence of friction, the influence of light reflecting characteristics, and the unevenness of the pavement. So in today's lecture, we will be seeing the other cross-sectional characters of a pavement, such as the width of the pavement or carriageway, then the camber, the curbs, the traffic separators or the medians, then the right of way. Okay, so first we will see what this width of pavement or carriageway is. So what do you understand by width of pavement or width of carriageway? So this width of pavement or the carriageway depends on the width of the traffic lane. So if you remember, we have seen the cross section of a typical pavement. So you have the carriageway, then you have the curb, have the shoulders, and then constituting all these, you have the total roadway width. So width of pavement or carriageway depends on the traffic lane and the number of lanes. So if you have a single lane road, so you might have seen single lane road and the double lane road, right? So for a single lane road, the width of the single lane usually is 3.8 meter. That means 2.4, and then the 0.68 plus 0.68, you get 2.5, giving, sorry, you get 3.8 meter. Okay. So this total width of the pavement for a single lane or for a double lane, it usually depends on what is the width of the traffic lane and then the number of lanes. So here, since it's a single lane, the width is only 3.8 meter. But when you have double lane, you have 2.4 meter and 2.4 meter, and then there is a gap of 1.06 meter, giving a total of 7 meter for a double lane road. So in front of a college, is it a single lane road or is it a double lane road?
Two lane, ma'am.
Yeah, it's a double lane road, right? And totally, how many direction is there? Like, totally, if we consider both the directions, what is the total number of lanes? So you have two lane in one direction, right? You have double lane in one direction, and the other lane also you have double lane. So totally you have four lane, right? Can you visualize the college road? The road in front of a college? Okay, I hope you can visualize. So according to IRC, that is Indian Road Congress, the minimum lane width for a single lane road is 3.75 meter. And for a two lane road, it is 3.5 into 2. That is nothing but 7 meter, including both the lanes. So this is how a typical carriageway looks like. You have the carriageway or the width of the pavement. Then you have the shoulder. Adding both, you get the roadway. Including the margins, you get the right of way. So when the detail, we will discuss about shoulders and right of way. So the width of carriageway or width of pavement, as per IRC, it's been given here. So based on the class of road, the width of pavement will be different. So when you have a single lane road, it is 3.75 meter. When you have two lanes without raised curbs, so we will see what these curbs are and what do you mean by raised and without raised curbs. So when you have two lanes without any raised curbs, it will be 7 meter. But when you have two lanes with raised curbs, it will be 7.5 meter. So please remember this term, without raised and with raised curbs. We will be discussing that in detail when we are seeing about curbs in the next slide. Then when you have intermediate carriageway, it is 5.5 meter. And when it is multi-lane pavement, okay, so two lanes is what we see in front of a college. But when you look into any national highways, it will be multi-lane pavement. And each lane will be 3.5 meter. So is that clear?
Yes, ma'am.
So now, how will you choose how many number of lanes are required? Why? In some area you might find two lanes, sometimes you might find single lane road. So how will you decide whether you have to provide a single lane or two lane or multi lane? Can anyone tell me how do you decide whether you have to provide a single lane road or a multi lane road? Anyone?
Ma'am, depending on the
Based
traffic
on
situation.
traffic.
Yeah, it's based on the traffic. Then, yeah, one is based on what will be the design traffic volume, right? You will be designing the payment maybe for the next 20 years. So what might be the traffic volume there? Then one more important parameter that controls the width of carriageway. It is based on the level of service. What do you mean by level of service? It is what all facilities are being provided for the traffic in that typical lane. Okay, so based on the design volume and based on the level of service, the number of lanes that has to be provided will be decided. So next we will see cross slope or camber. This is important. So cross slope, I have already told you, it is this raise in the payment that is being provided. So we have already discussed why is cross slope being provided.
Drainage purpose.
Yeah, it is for the drainage purpose. Then again, yeah, drainage by proper drainage. What is the importance of proper drainage? It will be, it will be providing some surface protection for the bitumen surface. Then the subgrade is being protected because since it has proper drainage, what happens? The subgrade soil is being protected, and also how the how when water is present, we have seen, right? uh, how when water is present, how the vehicle gets skidded, right? Or the vehicle will be skidding. So to avoid that, the pavement has to be dry. So if the camber has been provided, what happens? There will not be any water logging in the pavement, and the pavement will be quickly dried, which again, what increases the safety. One more reason is if there is a camber, what happens is the vehicle, if they have to overtake, they have to take extra effort to overtake, right? So that is also one reason. So you cannot provide steep slopes. Why? Because it will result in eroding the surface. Okay, so steep slope is avoided, and camber is usually measured as 1 in n or n percentage. Either you can represent it as a representative fraction or as a percentage. Okay, so we will be solving one numerical on camber. Then how do we decide what camber has to be provided? It depends on what is the surface of the pavement that is being provided and also the amount of rainfall. If the rainfall is high, then it is important you provide a steep slope. Okay. So the camber, typically you have three types. One is the sloped camber. Next is the parabolic camber. So in sloped camber, if the whatever the slope is being given. So based on that, you can get the height of the uh, uh,
Yeah, I'm so sorry for the delay. There had been some network issue, I guess. So now is it fine? Are you able to see the slides?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
Yeah, so I just put it on present. Now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah,
Yes, ma'am.
sorry, there had been some network delay. So yeah, so in sloped camber, the based on the type of the payment and based on the rainfall, the camber, the height of the crown, this point is known as the crown. Okay, so if I have to take, so this height from the level surface, this is nothing but the crown. So the height of the crown will be decided. Then for a parabolic camber, the equation for this line, for the camber, okay, will be following the equation for a parabola. And for a composite camber, you have a straight line and then a parabola and then again a straight line. Okay, so for sloped camber, it's nothing but it will be a straight camber. So you will be using the equation for a straight line. So if this is the width of the payment, so let's assume that this is the total width. So I take this as capital W. Okay, so now let us take the slope as N. So now how will you get this height? Anyone, how will you get that line? Or how will you get
Ma'am, by
the height of
Pythagoras
the
theorem.
crown? Yeah, by Pythagoras theorem. So if I take the slope as 1 in N, so that means what? For 1 meter, it is N. So here the total width is W. So the half of the width will be what? W by 2, right? So for 1, you are providing N rise. So for W by 2, how much you have to provide? It will be W by 2 into N, right? So this, if I mark it as A is nothing but W by 2 into N. Is this clear? A is nothing but W is nothing but the width of the payment divided by 2 into N. You understood how we are getting this W divided by 2? For the slope is given as 1 in N. Okay, that means for 1 meter horizontal distance, there is N rise. So for what? For W by 2 of, why W by 2? Because I'm taking it for half of the width of the road. For W by 2, it will be W by 2 into N. So A, if I'm considering this crown, the height of crown as A is nothing but W by 2 into N. For a parabola, we will be using what? The equation for parabola, that is nothing but y equals x squared by A. Okay, so here you get y equals 2x squared by NW. So this equation for parabola is not important. For you, sloped camber will be asked in the exam. So this is how you get the equation. So this slide is important for parabolic camber, this y. Okay, so here I have marked as A. So here in this typical diagram, this is nothing but A. So sorry, y. So y is nothing but what? 2 into x squared divided by n into w. Then for a straight line camber, y is nothing but W by 2 into x squared divided by n into w. Then for a parabolic camber, y is nothing but W by 2 into x squared divided by n into w. Then for a straight line camber, y is nothing but 2 into x squared divided by n into w. Then for a parabolic camber, y is nothing but I'm so sorry, students. There's some network delay this side. So I'll wait until it resumes. So yeah, so we have seen how to convert 1 in 50 to 2%. So if you have to convert 150 to percentage, what you have to do is 1 by 50 into 100. That is nothing but what? Nothing but 2%. Right? Now 1 by 60 is 1 by 60 into 100. Okay. So likewise, you will be converting. So for thin bituminous surface, for heavy rainfall, it is 2.5, whereas for low rainfall, it is 2%. So for earth road, you can see, right? Because there is no surface coating being provided. So the camber has to be high, or the height of crown should be high compared to cement concrete or thick bituminous surface. Is that clear? So now we'll quickly solve a numerical. So it's been this is the data given. In a district where rainfall is heavy, major district road of WBM pavement. WBM is nothing but what? Waterborne macadam pavement. 3.8 meter wide. What should be the height of crown with respect to the edges? Okay. So what has been given? The rainfall is heavy and it's a major district road of WBM pavement. So you please remember this term. The So the rainfall is heavy. It's a major district road. It's a WBM pavement. So we will just go back and refer to IRC to find out what should be the slope that has to be provided. Okay. So if we look into the table, you can understand waterborne macadam, right? It was WBM. Yeah. WBM is here. Then what is given? It's heavy rainfall, right? So what is the slope that you have to provide? It should be 1 in 33 or 3%. Okay, you understood how we are referring this table. Waterborne macadam, it is 1 in 33 or 3%. So now we know the equation to get the height of camber. Since they have not given whether you have to provide a parabolic slope or a straight line camber, we assume that the camber that you're going to provide here is a straight line. Okay. So the height of the crown is given by what? W by 2n. W is nothing but 3.8 meter. Divide by 2 into n. Okay. N is nothing but 33%. So here you have to remember for this equation. Okay. N is given as what? N is given as this value 1 in 33. Don't substitute 3% there. You have to remember this diagram. For 1 in n, when we are considering the slope as 1 in n, you can use this equation. So in case for the exam, if the value for n is given in percentage, and if you want to use this equation, you have to convert that percentage as 1 in n, or you have to convert it as a representative fraction. Is that clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So now substitute and get the value, get the height of the camber. Substitute and get the height of the camber.
0.05.
0.
Zero 05.
Yeah. So for these values, since you're giving in meters, it's always better you round it off to at least 3 decimal. Okay. So round off to 3 decimal places. What is the value that you're getting?
0.057.
0.057.
Yeah, 5, 7, approximately that. So you understood how we're solving this? So
Yes,
here
ma'am.
you have to always remember that this should be 1 in n when you're using this equation. If it is given in percentage, how will you convert? Suppose if it is given as 3%, how will you convert as 1 in n? It's nothing but 3 by 100, right? So this has to be taken in reciprocal. So you have to take 1 by 3 into 100. Okay. Yeah. So now we will quickly see what median or traffic separator is. So I hope all of you have seen a median or traffic separator. So this is the worst scenario of how you use a median or traffic separator. So what is the use of a median or traffic separator?
To separate lanes.
Yeah, it is actually to separate
Traffic
different
directions.
roadways. Yeah, not lanes actually. Here, the lane, no, it's not divided. This is just a marking. But traffic separator or median are usually provided, to divide, yeah, adjacent roadways or the adjacent lanes. So here you have, the median that has been physical. It's like a physical barrier, whereas here you have a painted median. Okay, and either it can be also be used to isolate slow or fast-moving traffic. And the main functions are to segregate the slow traffic, then to protect the pedestrians. So here what happens is the pedestrians can move along this direction, right? Then what? Then you can channelize the traffic at any intersection. So the width of median usually range from 1.8 to 2.4 meter. Okay. Okay, so next we will see curbs. So curbs also you have seen. So curb is nothing but it's a boundary and it separates what? It separates the carriageway. Hereafter, you cannot call this section of the road as the road. It is what's a carriageway, right? So it separates the carriageway from the shoulder. Okay. So the shoulder can be, there can be the shoulder, or it can be, an island, or it can be a footpath. So here this is the typical footpath. So curbs, again, you have 4 different types. You have the low or mountable curbs. Then you have the semi-barrier type curbs. You have barrier type curbs and submerged curbs. So low or mountable curbs, what happens is the vehicle, if they want to, if there is some emergency, they can mount on the curb. So that is why it is low or mountable curbs. That means vehicle can approach. In semi-barrier type, so this is a semi-barrier type. In semi-barrier type curb, it's not easy for a vehicle to go into the shoulder, but at least the vehicle can mount this curb. But in barrier type curb, it's not possible for vehicle to cross this curb. Submerged curbs are usually provided for, for rural areas wherein the curb will be submerged and it will be looking something like this. So if this is the carriageway, a curb will be provided like this so that, the pavement or the carriageway is being protected. So this will be the curb. Okay, so this actually separates. So if you have the shoulder here, or if you have the footpath here, okay, you have the footpath here. So this curb will actually protect the pavement. So this is the typical standard given by IRC. For a mountable curb, it should be 10 centimeter. For a semi-barrier curb, 15 centimeter. For a barrier type, it is 20 centimeter. And this is how a submerged curb will be looking like. I hope you have seen almost all the curbs, right? You have seen lower mountable curbs, you have seen. Semi-barrier type curbs you have seen, barrier type curbs also you have seen, submerged curbs also you have seen, right? Okay. So next we have the road margins. So road margin are the the portion of the road which is beyond the carriageway. So this is the carriageway. Whatever is beyond this, beyond the carriageway. Carriageway is nothing but that portion of the road where the vehicles are being carried. So the portion of the road beyond the carriageway is nothing but road margins. So road margin typically consists of shoulder. So I will explain in detail what these are. Shoulder, then the parking lane, bus bay, service road, cycle track, footpath, and guardrails. So what is a shoulder? What do you mean by shoulder? This is actually the outer edge of the carriageway. Okay, so it can be, sometimes it will be paved or it will be unpaved. So here, whatever shoulder that you see is unpaved. So the function of the shoulder are, it provides some no provides stability for the carriageway, and it also support the edges. Okay, so here you have a structure. So if it is paved or if it's unpaved, it will be providing some stability to the carriageway, and it also act as an emergency lane. So suddenly, if there is some service problem with the vehicle, so the vehicle can easily maneuver from the traffic and then join this shoulder and then look into the condition of the vehicle. And it also act as a service lane, right? It can act as a service lane. And if the shoulder is maintained well, then the capacity of the carriageway can also be improved. So that is about shoulder. Now, what are these parking lanes? So parking lanes, now where do you find the parking lanes usually? In urban road or in rural road? Where do you usually find parking lane? In urban or in
Urban.
rural road? Urban road, right?
Urban.
So these are, provided on urban road to allow what? To allow for the curb parking, right? Vehicles are being parked over here. So this, usually parallel parking will be allowed. So you might have seen this. You might have seen typical parking lane. So here you can see the vehicles have been parked in parallel fashion. Okay. So bus bays. Bus bays, to some extent you can find in Bangalore in near to Hebbal. And some of the places also you might have seen bus bays. So what are bus bays? Those of you have seen. What is a bus bay?
Ma'am, it is separate lane for buses.
Yeah, it is a separate lane for buses. Okay, so this actually avoids, any congestion due to the public transport. Okay, so these are bus bays. Service road. What is service road?
Ma'am, they are usually next to national highways from which
Yeah,
the two-wheelers and other vehicles can move, like this
yeah. So
bicycles
that,
and other things.
yes. So service road and cycle track are more or less of the same purpose. Footpath.
For the pedestrians,
Yeah, footpaths are provided for the pedestrians. So it's also known as what? It's also known as sidewalk. Okay, and these are also usually provided in urban roads. Urban roads, you will be finding footpath. Then guardrails.
ma'am, they're
Guardrails.
basically on the hilly regions.
It need not be. So when you have, when you have an embankment, so I don't know whether I have a photograph of an embankment road. So what happens is the vehicle have a tendency to, to be to separate out from the. I think I'll be having here for the yeah, for this kind of a road. Okay, so the road is constructed on an embankment. So there's a chance that the vehicle will be running off from the embankment. So in that case, a guardrail will be provided. So this structures that these road margins also you have seen in one or the other occasion. So next we have the width of formation. So width of formation is roadway. Width of formation is also known as roadway. It is the sum of the width of pavement or the carriageway, including the separator and the shoulder. Okay, so that will not be included. No, any other extra land will not be included. So up to shoulders, whatever distance or whatever width has been provided. Okay, so that will be considered here. So you have the carriageway. Then if you have the traffic median, and then you have the shoulders and then any other separators. So this is the minimum formation width. So you cannot prescribe any maximum formation width because it is difficult to get the land. So minimum formation width for plain area and hilly area has been provided here. So for NH, so this is also from IRC. For NHNSH, 12 meter in plain area, and for hilly area, 7.9 meter. So major district road, 10 meter and 6.7. Other village road, 8 meter in plain area and 6.7 for hilly area. And for village road, 7.5 meter in plain area and 4.25 in hilly area. So next is the right of way and land width. So this right of way or land width is the width of the land that has been acquired for the road. Okay, so that will be able to accommodate all the cross section of the highway elements presently, and in case if there is any future development also, there should be place, or there should be enough capacity to accommodate those elements as well. So this is a typical right of way or the land width that has to be provided for road class road. So for open area and for build up area, it is different. So you understand by open area, right? For build up area, already there is existing area or existing building. So in open area, the roadway width that can be provided is much more liberal or elaborate compared to build up areas. I'm sorry, again, there had been a network delay. Okay, so here you can see. So the right of way is the how much width it has to be. The right of way has to be provided depends on the width of the formation, then the height of embankment, or if it is if the road is being constructed on a cutting, the depth of cutting, then what is the side slope of the embankment or cutting. So suppose, see, you have constructed a road on an embankment. So you understand by an embankment, right? So what is the side slope? So based on the safe side slope, because if it's an embankment, obviously there should be a slope. So based on how much the slope can be provided, because for the slope also, again, an additional, suppose if this is only the carriageway, this much area is going for providing the slope for the embankment. So based on what slope has to be provided, the right of way will be changing. Now for a cutting, again, you see, this might be the road on a cutting, right? So this slope, so in this case, the total right of way or land width will be from here. So though this is the carriageway plus the shoulders, the right of way has to also depend on what slope you're going to provide you. Then the drainage system in that area, then side distance. So side distance considerations we will be seeing in tomorrow's class. And then what is the reserve land that is being kept aside for future widening. So this is the typical cross section of a pavement. You have the carriageway or the pavement. Then there are the shoulders. So adding the carriageway or pavement and the shoulders, you get the roadway width or the formation width. Considering the road margin, you get the road land width. So then you have last session, we have already explained what building line and control line is. So why is a building line being provided? If a building line is not being provided, the entire, or along the highway, there will be a ribbon pattern of road development. So that is why a building line is being provided. That means no building is being allowed up to this area. Then you have a control line. So control line is kept such that the further encroachment or further acquisition can be done. So this is from IRC. So you have the carriageway. Okay, the portion where the vehicles are being carried. Then including the shoulders, you have the roadway. Then you have the road land width. Then you have overall width between the building line, that is nothing but the building line. Then you have overall width between control line, that is nothing but the control line. So next class we will be seeing side distance and what is the importance of side distance.